Hey folks, Papa Boris here, playing some more leaders. We, I think, landed in an arena game. I do it simultaneously with the normal queue to try to maximize my odds of getting to play. Alright, let's see who my opponent is. They are, okay, over 100, so not a beginner by any means. Alright, well, we'll just, this is a pretty lucky start here. We do have the Illusionist, although my opponent gets the Hermit and Cub, so both of us get something pretty good here. I'm not going to do the whole put the Illusionist there thing. What I'm going to do instead is stick the Illusionist here. This kind of like stops the leader from being able to go in this lane, and then hopefully I can like corral the leader over here. My opponent, well, of these two things, I think what most people would do is take the Hermit and Cub, which is just very strong. Having that extra Cub for defense is such a huge deal. And then the Brewmaster, which I'm a little sad about because I would love the Brewmaster with the Illusionist. Oh, my opponent takes the Archer. Now, I do think that's probably the worst of the three options there, just because when you take this character, it doesn't really like help you get to the enemy leader more quickly, and because it has to be in a straight line, it can often be really easy to counter. So I wouldn't have done this personally, and it also leaves the Hermit and Cub for me, and the Cub actually is really good at countering the Archer because you have an extra piece that needs to go right where the Archer needs to go as well. So I have an interesting decision to make here. Of course, my opponent is baiting me here by sticking the Acrobat in the place where I can swap with my Illusionist. So that is very tempting. Then each of us would have a piece near the other's leader. There's a difference. The Acrobat is a worse piece to have near your leader than the Illusionist is, because the Illusionist near your leader is just a blank piece, but the Acrobat can jump over stuff, so sometimes the Acrobat can like get adjacent to you or let another piece come adjacent in a way that the Illusionist cannot. So what I'm going to do instead is just move my leader normally and move my Illusionist into this lane. Again, trying to cut off the enemy leader somewhat. And I may take the bait. Like, I would switch with the Archer. I just wouldn't want to switch with the Acrobat. And maybe switching with the Archer is not a good idea either. I don't know. But okay, we're going to end the action phase here. And I have a really tough choice to make because the Brewmaster is great with the Illusionist. If you can Brewmaster the Illusionist, there's just like a bajillion more things that your opponent now has to be worried about. So there's that like element of it. But on the other hand, the Hermit and Cub would give me great protection. It is just a really strong character, a little boring, but insanely strong. And then the Rider is good for mobility because if I do take the bait and do like a swap near the enemy leader, like a trade where they get a character near me and I get one near them, then having a character who can get up to the enemy leader quickly would be very strong. Man, it's a tough call. Probably the best choice here is just the boring Hermit and Cub. But I'm going to grab the Brewmaster and we're going to stick it near the Illusionist. If I put it here, I'm kind of getting in the way of moving my leader around. If I put it here, it's not as centralized. Yeah, we'll stick it here. I definitely want it near the Illusionist. I'm just not 100% sure that was the best place for it. All right, we got a Nemesis here. Let's see if my opponent takes the Gambit and goes for the Nemesis. This could be a decent time. I kind of cut off my own leader from walking backwards, so the Nemesis here would be pretty close to me. But no, I mean, I think the correct choice is just Hermit and Cub for the extra defense and offense, or even the Rider's an acceptable choice because the Acrobat and the Rider can get up to the enemy leader pretty quickly. Okay, so I could, of course, move my leader, Brewmaster the Illusionist, and then swap with the Rider. It is an idea, certainly. I could also, of course, swap with the Archer. What I think I want to do, though, is just play a good, clean, safe game here. Let's just, you know, step up like this, and like this. This is a much better positioning. My pieces are now in front of the leader. I still have the centralized Illusionist. I still can try to, you know, maybe do a swap at some point. And I think it's time to stop dicking around, and no one's taking this Cub. We gotta take the Cub. So the question is, where do I want the Hermit and where do I want the Cub? Obviously you think, okay, put the Hermit on the side with the leader, but it's very easy for my opponent to just move up with the Rider and tuck the leader back in. So you could say maybe do the opposite. You know, put the Hermit over here and the Cub over here. And now if the leader stays here, there's two pieces that are, and then I still have one more to draft that can maybe get up to the leader from this side. And if my opponent tries to swap to the other side. The hermit's already there. You know what? Maybe I'm talking myself into being a moron here, but let's just do that. Let's stick it here and here, nice and symmetrical, and call it a day. Ah, my opponent got the Vizier. That's a very good final card because, of course, it makes for a very slippery leader. And I don't really have a whole lot going on here. Just the Illusionist for some tricks and the Brewmaster. Mostly I'm just playing with blank pieces. My opponent definitely has the more mobile group of characters, so I have to be wary of that. Alright, this is looking like it's going to turn into a pretty defensive game here. I could have made some aggressive moves. I obviously could have swapped the Illusionist a few times. I had the opportunity. I could have taken the Rider myself. But I chose a safer line, and now we might have a bit of a grindy game. Oh gosh, we have the Protector. So we have like the 3 worst possible characters that can be on the field here, which is most unfortunate. And we have the Illusionist kind of going up here where it's really not doing a very good job as an Illusionist, because it's, you know, right next to a bunch of enemy pieces in a kind of wall formation. I could Brewmaster the Illusionist, swap with the Rider. I don't think that that's very safe at the moment, especially because I'm not the one with the Vizier. All right, we're just going to play kind of a grindy game here. We're going to do all this. The Hermit is unfortunately letting the Acrobat get through. I'm 1 square off from being able to block the Acrobat. Do I want to move my leader? Well, I don't move here because then I lose the game because the Archer would be hitting me there. Yeah, I guess we just kind of leave the leader there. And I'm not happy about it, but I gotta just take the Protector here. The opponent has no pieces that move me, so the Assassin. So the Protector does nothing. The Nemesis, there's no way 2 of my pieces are gonna threaten the leader, forcing him to move. So the Nemesis is nothing. So I gotta just take the Assassin. And we're gonna, you know, put the Assassin on the side of the board here and try to swing it around. Now, obviously, I don't think I'm gonna win with it, but the hope is that I can force the enemy leader off to the side and then, you know, win with some shenanigans. So right now, the Acrobat can get to my leader, but the other pieces are going to have a difficult time doing so. And I just have to hope that my opponent makes a mistake at some point. I think they kind of outplayed me in the draft phase. They just did the Archer move that I criticized, you know, ended up kind of working out for them because I took the pieces that I thought were the better ones, the Brewmaster and the Hermit, plus my starting Illusionist. Those are all objectively strong pieces, but altogether I have a composition here that's not able to get to the enemy leader very easily. And I'm basically playing defense here. Okay, I'm not sure why my opponent's stepping aside with the Acrobat. I do think you need to push here. It puts me in a very tough spot because, see, the Acrobat can jump over pieces. So, like, if I have the Hermit in either one of these squares, the Acrobat can jump over. So you put the Acrobat here, the Archer here, and now, if I'm not careful, the Acrobat can jump over, the Archer can step in this spot, and then the game is over. On the other hand, maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that, because if you put the Acrobat here and the Archer here, then the Illusionist just gets to step forward. It's playing as a blank piece right now, but still it can do that. Note that my opponent could let me swap with his leader, and still be okay, because I put the Cub here. I mind-gamed myself into putting the Cub here instead of the Hermit. So actually, swapping with the leader wouldn't even win me the game, and might not even be a good move, because I don't have the checkmate. So my strategy right now is the Acrobat can get near me. That's just kind of the sad reality. And I have to hope that I can stay alive. And, you know, get my other pieces into position. And also I have to keep this Rider at bay. The question is, I mean, I could shift the wall down to keep the Rider from coming in here, slipping into this crevice, but I think I can't do that. I think I actually just need to keep it the way it is, because if I slide everything down, the Archer gets access to this square, which is unpalatable. Now, I could swap with the leader. If my Assassin were up 1 more square, I'd actually win the game here. As it is, what I think I'm going to do is take a bit of a kind of weird line. I am going to just go for this, where my Cub stays put to block the Rider, and then if I go here, I do lose. But here I'm safe from the Rider, I'm safe from the Archer, and I could just even move 1 more space over here. So I'm basically playing this line where I'm committed to being near the Acrobat, But I'm hoping that no other piece can get next to me, which is obviously a risky way to play the game. But I think I'm actually safer over here, because either way the acrobat's touching me, right? Like, there's no way the acrobat isn't touching me. So I might as well just do this, as long as the archer can't touch me, right? If the archer could get here, I would lose. But luckily, the opponent can't move his own stuff. With like, there's no Brewmaster, for example. There's no Illusionist. There's no Claw to reposition things, which takes a huge mental load off. I just have to make sure the Vizier-powered leader can't get next to me, and that this rider can't charge me. And then we keep the Illusionist and Brewmaster centralized. So the idea now is I am threatening checkmate to swap with the leader and assassin him. And if my opponent parries that, then I just keep moving my assassin closer. I wasn't exactly planning this or anything, but it seems like what my strategy has sort of turned into is I'm just stalling to get my assassin into position. And obviously, again, you're never going to win with the assassin, but the idea is that by getting the assassin close to the enemy leader, you force the enemy leader into a box and the rest of your pieces get him. Now, what I think my opponent probably needs to do is swing the leader back over here, because the leader is actually safer here than he is over here with the assassin. Okay, my opponent takes a bit of a different angle with it. He decides to just stuck the leader in the back. So, the rider is coming at me here. I do need to be careful about that. Also, the fact that the archer is now officially threatening checkmate. So, where do I put my pieces? I could Brewmaster Illusionist here and swap with the archer. It's the only swap I'm able to do. I think I'm going to put the cub here. The question, though, is where do I want the hermit? Because the hermit and cub have to move together. If I want the assassin here, it's a little awkward because the hermit can't also go here. I could put the hermit here and the assassin here. And then I could put the hermit there, maybe. But the archer is stepping in here. So let's say I put the hermit here, the assassin here, and the archer just steps there. Then, again, it's the same problem where the assassin's kind of forced to the edge of the board. I think I just have to accept that the assassin needs to go here. I just have to deal with that reality. And the question is, do I want to put my leader back this way to dodge the checkmate? Or do I want to put the Illusionist here to dodge the checkmate? I think if I put the Illusionist here and the Brewmaster here, then the enemy leader is way too safe on this side of the board. So I'm not a huge fan of that option. Basically, I think I like my strategy of just kind of stalling until I can get my assassin over. So do I want to move the hermit to where my leader is? Because if so, then I need to move the leader first. Okay, I'm going to take a bit of a risky line here. I'm going to put the leader here, and I'm going to move the hermit this way. Then we're going to completely box out the rider. This could be a mistake, because now I lose the ability to Brewmaster the Illusionist. But I really don't want the rider to get into this spot. So we'll just leave the Illusionist here, because obviously if I move it, then I lose the game. The acrobat steps in, and then the archer steps right there, and it's checkmate. I'm just, again, trying to buy time for the assassin to make his way over. And, I really want to cut the enemy leader off. We're going for the strategic squeeze here. I want to cut the enemy leader off completely with the assassin, and then try to win with the Brewmaster and Illusionist. It's not a really great strategy, but suffocation is probably going to have to be the way that this one ends. And that's, of course, assuming I can stay alive long enough to actually do that. My hermit's always been kind of one step out of position this game, which has been unfortunate. I really wish my hermit was here. Then the Illusionist could move to be next to the Brewmaster, and the hermit could take the spot of the blockading the archer. Alright, so my opponent's got the acrobat in position. Oh, I'm not super worried here, I have to say. It's unfortunate I don't have a piece that can stand here, because I need a piece to stand here and block the archer from moving forward. Unfortunately, the Illusionist is the only one that can stand there. And I don't want the rider charging in here, so the Brewmaster has to go here. And then I'd like to put the Illusionist near the Brewmaster, but I cannot, Because if I put the Brewmaster here, the Illusionist here, they're next to each other. If I put the Brewmaster here, well, the Rider could move a step forward. How much do I care about the Rider being on that step specifically? The real question, though, is how much do I care about the Brewmaster being near the Illusionist? With these pieces blockading here, the Brewmaster-Illusionist combo isn't even that strong. All right, we're just going to leave it. We'll do this. The Assassin will keep on swinging around. All right, the Hermit finally gets into a centralized position. I maybe just put him in the wrong place initially. And the Cub, I'm not sure it matters too much, but I'll go here just in case it actually matters that the Acrobat can't jump. I don't know why it would matter if my opponent's Acrobat jumps to this side. Does it make a difference? I'm not sure, but my gut's telling me to put the Cub there, so I'm just going to do that. And then the Leader. If I put my Leader here, the Acrobat can jump back and be really defensive. Then this game really grinds to a halt. I think the Leader's better over here because that's further from the Vizier and from the Rider, and it's also taking advantage of the fact that the Assassin's here blocking the Archer from getting up to me. But I don't like the Acrobat being able to get back, so we're going to be a little greedy here. I'm going to leave the Leader where he is. Don't let the Acrobat come back and be a defensive piece. And, you know, this is what I was talking about before. It's sort of like a invite and isolate strategy where you invite one of your opponent's pieces to be right up next to your Leader, but then you isolate them so that piece is essentially not actually accomplishing anything. Then your other pieces are the ones that do all the job. Okay, so my opponent is running over there with the Leader, which I'm completely fine with. All right, well, I haven't calculated this all the way, so I apologize if this makes me lose, but I think the move is this. We're going to put the Brewmaster... Again, I could put the Brewmaster... Oh, hold on. I might be missing the obvious. Sorry. I was like, we're going to box out this Rider, and I was like, wait, I could just stick a piece right next to his piece, and usually it's pretty good if you can stick a piece right next to your opponent's piece. Right next to your opponent's Leader. Is that not worth doing? Obviously, it's very risky letting the Rider continue to, you know, ride. God, I thought I had my move all planned out, and then I was like, hey, what if I put my piece next to the enemy Leader? That might be a good idea. Okay, so... yeah, I think I need to do that. I think it just has to happen. All right, so we're putting the Brewmaster here. And then the Rider needs to be cut off from riding down like this. So we kind of do this sort of a deal, where we just sort of box everything out. Now the Rider can get in here, but then I can move the Cub back here and delay the ability of the Rider to do a full charge. Now the Assassin, I think, just keeps on moving around. So there's no doubling back with the Leader. And the question is what do I do with my Leader? Obviously I want to go here to get further away from this Rider, but the problem is if I go here and the Archer moves, the Acrobat can jump back and be a defensive piece. Of course, the Acrobat can already do that. So really, I can't go here because the Archer goes here and beats me. I can, like, put the Leader here, which I'm really not comfortable with. That is very, very boxed in. And so if I don't win very quickly, then I lose the game. You know what I'm going to do? I actually am going to put my Leader here. I think I need to do it for safety's sake. And I'm okay with the Archer moving and the Acrobat jumping back because then my opponent basically has no offensive pieces and I have a piece right next to his Leader. So I'm just kind of gambling that that will count for something. So making sure that this square that the Archer is on he can't get there, otherwise of course I'd lose. So yeah, we're just playing a very slow game here. The Assassin, even with a slippery Vizier-fueled Leader, is able to cut the Leader off from ever crossing back over. And I'm just hoping that like these three pieces can get the job done while my opponent's pieces are too far away from my Leader. Yeah, maybe I'll title this video the Invite and Isolate Strategy. Because, see, all my pieces were always going towards the enemy Leader. Slowly, grindingly, you know, painstakingly, but nevertheless, they all were going towards the enemy Leader. Whereas my opponent's pieces were all kind of on the defense except for one. And because he had one fewer piece than I did, he couldn't stop my stuff from getting up to his leader. I think I'm going to win this unless, of course, I make a blunder. My opponent is threatening checkmate here, so I do need to be careful. The archer here would be checkmate. My opponent is in a very, very bad spot here. So it's funny, my illusionist I don't think ever did any illusionist. This was just a blank piece, though of course the threat of the illusionist was significant. So there's a couple different ways I could play this turn. I could just move the brewmaster up, of course. Hermit closes in. Illusionist stops checkmate. And the assassin cuts off the leader. So with the assassin right here, the leader can't run this way or into that corner even. The other possibility is I could move my hermit here and then brewmaster him up to the leader. Practical terms, I'm not sure what the difference is between the brewmaster being here and the hermit being here, or the hermit being here and the brewmaster being here. Theoretically, I win either way, because in both ways, the leader can run here, but then I checkmate with the hermit. If the brewmaster's here and the hermit's here, the leader can't move at all. I just like the idea of the leader not being able to move. So I just hope I don't miss a checkmate, and then we should win this. So I go here. I go here. Just cutting off the rider from moving. It theoretically shouldn't matter, but just in case. I cut off the leader from running in that direction. And I'm also prepared just to win with the assassin. And then there's just the teeny tiny matter of getting checkmated. And I think I want to make sure there's just no chance. Well, the acrobat just cannot jump back here. But just in case it matters at all, we're going to go right here. So the archer cannot go here for the checkmate. This square is not checkmate. And the leader can't move here. Basically, all the squares that are next to the leader cannot move into them. And I have two different pieces that can provide checkmate. So unless I missed the world's craziest checkmate here, it should be over. The game should be done. I think theoretically for style points, I could actually swap with my leader and be safe, because the archer is the only piece that can. But we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna dick around here, and we're just gonna pass the turn. So credit to Pawn Oxelen. There's a lot of, things that we learned about from this game. One is that, anyone rated over 100 is serious ass business. Like, I had to really grind to get this win, and he played great, I think, the whole time. I think that he fell for kind of a trick that I have fallen for, and if I hadn't fallen for it against a top 10 player, I don't think I would have even known about the trick. I would have been like, oh no, there's an acrobat here, I better form a defensive wall and not make any progress. But there's like a way to do a little bit of a dance where your leader is next to one of these enemy pieces, and no other piece can actually get up to them. But yeah, I mean, apart from falling for that kind of advanced strategy, my opponent has played a great game. And so yeah, that's the world of leaders, is you're not getting free wins with an early illusionist swap against anyone under 200 like you could used to, in the olden days a week ago. So yes, I don't see. So my opponent's leader cannot move, even with the vizier. If you're allowed to move 2 spaces, you still can't move through. Actually, I don't know. I believe maybe I'm wrong about that. May move 1 additional space. That implies that you move and then move again. So I don't think their leader could move, but I could be wrong. But yeah, the leader couldn't move, and I had pieces closing in, so that was that. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and/or subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Take care.